Hello, you guys. Welcome to the new 2020 setup. Today, I am going to talk about the highest paid social work jobs that are out there in 2020. And I got my money green shirt on today because I think it's totally appropriate for this topic. Now, for these jobs that I am presenting today, I made sure that the medium average salary would be $60,000 or more. On that note, let's get into it because I know you guys are curious to hear. So the first job that I want to present to you guys in this video is corporate social work. This may seem like an oxymoron to a lot of people because you automatically assume that, corporate is very business focused and, very anti-social work. And, of course, you may view social work as being a field that traditionally works in nonprofit or, something that is totally different from corporate or, corporation life. But these days, businesses are starting to understand that being socially responsible is everything. We don't want to support companies who don't support their communities and people who are in need. Companies and corporations are interested in working with people with a social work background so that they can work for the company and help to move the corporation in a direction that is more aligned with community giving, sustainability, and being socially responsible overall. So you may be surprised how many job options are out there for people with your background at different companies or corporations. Some of your favorite companies may actually hire or be interested in hiring a social worker to help to move them in a more socially responsible direction. This is an area that is growing rapidly, you guys. All the top companies and, big companies that you think of most likely have roles that would be a great natural fit for a social worker. And you're not limited to specific areas of the company when you have a social work background. You can find a good role for you in HR. You could work at the, company's foundation. You can also work in the diversity and inclusion part of the company. Any part of the company that focuses on people and making positive changes, whether that be in the society or inside of the company, someone with your background could be a great fit. So, definitely expand your thought and keep an open mind when you are thinking about the sector that you could possibly be a good fit in as a social worker. The median salary for a director of corporate social responsibility or, a corporate social worker is about $90,000. Maybe you're thinking, wow, I'm super interested in learning more, but I don't personally know any corporate social workers. Hi, you guys. So I actually am a corporate social worker. So if anybody is interested in learning more, or if you have any specific questions, please leave those comments below and I can touch on those questions in future videos. It's definitely a interesting and rewarding career path for me, and it's a great way to utilize the resources of a major company in order to create transformative change in the community. So it is a field of social work that I would recommend you doing more research on. So the next job is working in Veterans Affairs as a clinical social worker. In this role, in order to make the greatest amount of money, it would be smart for you to get your LCSW and to work more on the clinical side. What do social workers in Veterans Affairs do, you may be thinking? So they are really the voice for veterans who have exited the military and who are entering back into civilian life. They help to make that transition better and easier for military personnel. They support them and put them in touch with a lot of different community resources that they can benefit from, such as housing assistance, or they may provide counseling with them one-on-one around, if they're struggling with any type of addiction issues, or they're dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, any type of mental illnesses they may be struggling with. It can really help veterans with creating a treatment plan and a plan of action to get them to being in a better, more mentally and physically healthy state. Veterans Affairs social work would be a great field for someone who possibly has experience in the military or have an appreciation and understanding of military life and the type of struggles that military personnel are faced with. Maybe you have a parent or a family member who used to be in the military who you can kind of understand and empathize with. I think for these kind of folks, working in Veterans Affairs would be the perfect job, and it's also decently paid. In this role, on average, the median income is about $70,000. So you can definitely have a good quality of life on that salary while also helping and supporting a population in need. So to me, this job sounds like a total win-win. The next job I want to touch on is school social work. For anyone out there who has a love and a passion for working with children, if you're interested in the education system, school social work could be a great fit for you. The median income for this job is $64,000. And this role is great because you get to support students who may be having a hard time, who may have some learning disabilities that they're struggling with. You can support them if they're having issues at home in their personal lives. You can provide them and their families with resources to overcome those issues. Basically, as a school social worker, your job is to make sure that external issues are mitigated so that it won't impact your students in a way that could negatively bring down their grades or impact their success at school. I think school social work is a great option. There are ways for you to work in a school environment as a social worker. You may not be an official school social worker, but you can still work in that environment and do a lot of the same type of work. However, if you want to get the highest paid position in that area, it would be better for you to get the correct certifications and training. So whether it's in your MSW program or you getting additional certifications after you graduate from your MSW program. The next job that is high paid in the social work space is a program evaluator. So as a social worker, a lot of times when you're working with a population that has certain needs, you have to create programs and different projects to assist these specific populations, and there has to be someone who is evaluating the effectiveness of these programs and creating a plan to measure the outcome of the program and overall monitoring the success of the program. Because if you're not able to clearly lay out the change and the positive impacts that the program is having on a targeted population, there's no reason funders are going to want to support the program and continue providing funding assistance for the program. So oftentimes the program evaluators are working directly with the funders, whether they are private funders or government funders. It's important for them to have a good understanding of how the nonprofit or organization is measuring success, as well as how the funder is measuring success, and ensuring that those are aligned. The average salary for a program evaluator is $64,000. So definitely something you can live well off of. And the next role is a nonprofit director. You can make about $81,000 a year, and that's definitely not chump change. So the difficult thing about this role is that you have to work your way up the ranks to become an executive director. So if this is something that is a goal for you or something you can see yourself achieving or reaching for, you'll have to kind of start from the bottom in different low to mid-range nonprofit positions and kind of work your way up. Quick tip: if you are interested in becoming a nonprofit executive director, I would recommend you to look into working at smaller nonprofits, because it is easier to rise in the ranks when you do work for a smaller nonprofit. And then from there, you can move on to larger nonprofits later on, but that's just something I've noticed. I tend to see nonprofit executive directors who are younger in age working for smaller nonprofits. But yeah, that's definitely a way you can use your social work degree to make a good salary. Okay, so being a public policy analyst is another pretty high paid job that social workers can apply for. And the average salary for this role is about $75,000 a year. So this role would be someone who is interested in the political landscape, who's interested in policy as a whole, and who would like to influence and help to cultivate some changes to public policy. So in this role, you can work for the government and help to inform more local, state, and national policies, or you can work for individual companies and organizations and influence and help to shape the policies there, because all organizations have their own set of guidelines and policies that they are expecting their employees to follow. So actually, when I worked at a nonprofit, I had the chance to help draft a policy that was specific to that nonprofit, and it was really great experience. So if you're interested in being a policy analyst, I would say that writing is going to be very important. Persuasion is going to be very important because you will have to present your findings in a persuasive way if you're hoping to make a change to policy. And having good research fundamentals is important too, because oftentimes you'll have to do research on policies that exist in other parts of the world, or in other areas, and compare and contrast the current policies that you are working with. See how you could possibly take parts of policies you've seen in other places and use it to improve the policies in your own area. So researching is going to be very important, and also researching the effectiveness of the current policy as it stands is important if you want to give recommendations on how to improve it. So yeah, that is another role that social workers are a great fit for. Okay, so grant writing is another pretty well paid role that a social worker can fill. Grant writers on average make about $60,000 a year, and oftentimes they work in a nonprofit or possibly even a government sector, and their role is to apply for funding and submit grant applications once a funder puts out a RFP, or once a funder invites organizations to apply for funding. So the grant writer needs to have a great understanding of the overall landscape of the nonprofit. Who are the board of directors? What is the annual budget? What is that budget breakdown? What is the overall mission, and what are the long-term goals of the nonprofit? You are going to have to be the one to do research on potential funding opportunities for the nonprofit or organization that you work for, and clearly relay to those funders who your nonprofit is, and convince funders to partner with you all and provide funding for your nonprofit or organization towards different programs. So as a grant writer, of course, you have to be good at writing. You have to have good reading comprehension skills. Being persuasive is very important, and being able to lay out and organize your thoughts in a very cohesive manner without being overly wordy or, overly time consuming, because oftentimes when you're preparing a grant application, there is a word limit. So I think this role is great for anyone who is passionate about nonprofit work and who is interested in helping nonprofits to raise money that can help them to further reach their mission. Another role that is well paid for social workers is medical social work. I would definitely recommend anyone working in this space to get an LCSW as well for the highest salary. Medical social workers can work in clinics, but oftentimes they work in hospitals, and medical social workers often assist patients who have some pretty big and serious decisions to make and could benefit from an extra ear or extra support when making those decisions. When you're in the hospital and you're a sick patient, you're very, very vulnerable, and You may be in a situation where, you're trying to figure out how to properly pay for your health care, or struggling with homelessness and you don't have a place to go once your stay at the hospital ends, or maybe you need some support with end of life care and making decisions about what are next steps for you and your family members, once you pass on. Medical social workers are there to support hospital patients or clinic patients with making some of these decisions and providing them with resources that can kind of aid them into moving in the right direction. I think this would be a great role for anyone who maybe has some interest in the medical field, or anyone who just overall believe in the importance of holistic health. I think it's a great role. And on average, I found that medical social workers make about $63,000. So definitely something that is a good amount. All right, you guys, so I am down to my last recommendation for a social work job that can pay very well. And this role is a program officer. So this role I think is interesting for people who have nonprofit experience, because basically as a foundation worker, you are going to be partnering with nonprofits and trying to figure out which nonprofit you should provide financial support to. As a program officer, you will be in charge of a portfolio of grants, and you will be the one that makes the decision around who to provide those grant dollars to. So if you have nonprofit experience, it will really help you to better evaluate whether a nonprofit is in a state to properly utilize the financial support and make sure that it can lead to success. So my role is interesting because although I'm a corporate social worker, I also help to manage the work that we do around our private foundation. So I actually dip and dabble in both, what we think about when we consider corporate social responsibility. That's a part of my role, but kind of like as a one-off to that, or an offshoot to that, I help to work with our nonprofit partners through our private foundation. But oftentimes program officers work in either a public or private foundation that is separate from a corporation. So a lot of hospitals have foundations. Individual people may have foundations. For example, Henry Ford, he has the Ford Family Foundation, and a lot of companies as well, such as the company I work for, they have foundations too. So there are program officers in all of these roles, and the average median salary in this role is about $63,000 a year. So I think anyone interested in nonprofit work and supporting nonprofits with reaching their mission would thrive and do well in this role. Okay, you guys, so that's it. These are the top jobs that I would recommend to social workers who are interested in minding their society, making an impact, but also supporting themselves and making sure that they are taking steps to reach financial freedom for themselves and their families. If you guys have any questions or feedback from this video, please leave it in the comment section below. And anyone who currently works in any of the jobs that I mentioned, I'd be interested in hearing more about your experience. So please leave that experience below as well. I think it can be helpful for a lot of people who are trying to figure out the direction they want to go in the social work realm. And follow my Instagram page. I just launched it a few weeks back. So if you go to Instagram, the name is Mind Your Society, just like my YouTube page. So please follow me there. I'm gonna try to start doing a lot of cool stuff there. I want to do some Q&As on there. All right, so that's it for this video today. And on that note, I will talk to you guys later and see you soon.